Chairs No Waiting, episode number 804, Andy and the Gentleman Crook. Two Chairs No Waiting is brought to you each week by the folks over at weaversdepartmentstore.com. Drop by over at Weavers. They got some great Mayberry items over there. Brand new thing, a Mayberry purse. That's right. It's transparent. That means you can see through it. And it's got 3 different straps you can use. One of them's orange and blue. But if you need a transparent purse, head over to Weavers and check it out. While you're there, you might want to check out some of the Mayberry Man, the series stuff. We still got some DVDs, book. We got a poster and a T-shirt. And if you're looking for books, we got the Mayberry Trivia. You guys all love the trivia. Go check that out. Mayberry Trivia book over at weaversdepartmentstore.com. Two Chairs No Waiting is also brought to you by donations from listeners like you. The executive producer of episode number 804 is Lisa Allers. Hey, Lisa, thank you so much for supporting the podcast, and thank you for being here with me. I'm Alan Newsom, the host of Two Chairs No Waiting, and it is so fun just to get together and talk about the Andy Griffith Show. This week, we're going to be talking about Andy and the Gentleman Crook. Now, that's an episode of the Andy Griffith Show, of course. We're going to do that. I'll give you some odd facts known by a few related to that episode. And then we're going to play a little trivia provided by Paul Mulik. And it's going to be on dancing, like last week's. If you didn't hear last week's episode, go back and check it out and see the first, I don't remember how many questions we did. 5, I think, questions last week. Yep. And so we'll be doing, we're doing 4 questions this week, but one of them's worth 2 points. So we got 5 questions basically. All right. So if you remember Andy and the Gentleman Crook, it's about when con artist Gentleman Dan Caldwell, he comes to Mayberry for a stopover at the jail, and everybody in town seems to think he's awesome with his charm and his sophistication. And when Barney's left alone with him, Caldwell, reels him in and takes his gun away from him and manages to escape. Of course, Andy gets to the door right when he's trying to leave and sees that he's got Barney's gun, and well, you know what happens from there on. So that's what this one's about. And so we'll be talking about that today, giving you some more information about it. So let's go in. I'm going to try something a little different this week. Because I've got some, the way the information was gathered is a little different. So I want to try that. So this is the 21st episode aired of the Andy Griffith Show. Now, it just so happens that it was also the 21st episode filmed of the Andy Griffith Show. Its original air date was February the 27th, 1961. The writers for this episode were Ben Gershman and Leo Solomon. And the director was Jim Sweeney. That's what we've got. All right, so I'm going to get us a little bit of background music because, always like when I'm just talking a lot, we need something to cover that up. So let's do this one. There we go. A little bit of exciting music. There we go. All right, so the plot of this episode, well, I'll tell you right now, it starts off with Andy and Opie and Barney all in the courthouse is how it actually starts off, with Andy telling a story about Jack the Giant Killer. You remember that old story? So he's telling them, and of course Opie's loving the stories, and Barney also is loving Andy's stories and is just as wrapped in attention as Opie was, sitting there and listening to Andy tell these stories. So that's how it gets started. But here's what the show is actually about. The town of Mayberry. A fella is coming to town by the name of Gentleman Dan Caldwell. Now, we'll back off of my storytelling for just a second and say, when Barney finds out that Gentleman Dan Caldwell is going to be coming to the town of Mayberry, a lot of excitement occurs. But before that even happens, though, he's practicing. He's practicing his gun draw, and he shoots his gun into the floor. Yeah, well, Andy makes him bring it over. Give me the gun. And he takes out the bullet because he woke up Otis. Otis was asleep in the jail cell. He woke him up when the gun went off. And, of course, Andy makes Barney give him the gun and takes out the bullet. Won't give Barney another bullet because, Barney's not responsible. So this is the 21st episode, and Barney's shooting his gun off and won't let him have. He's got one bullet. So Anyway, so all this happens before we even find out about Gentleman Dan. And then they get a phone call finding out that they're fixing to house this Gentleman Dan Caldwell. And Gentleman Dan, well known, has been in Alcatraz and all kinds of stuff. So Barney, he realized that Gentleman Dan is coming to stay right here in this jail. So he starts to go and try to clean out and clear the jail cell, get it all nice. And then after he gets it kind of cleaned up like he wants it and changes out the picture and all that good stuff, he realizes Otis is in jail in there. So he wants to send Otis home, and eventually he is successful in doing that and getting Otis out of the jail. So he won't be there when Gentleman Dan gets to the Mayberry jail. All right. So, Gentleman Dan arrives at the local jail. He arrives there in Mayberry, and he is, as I said, a well-known criminal, and he's left an indelible mark on history, basically. With his suave and demeanor and impeccable charm, Dan basically effortlessly won over the hearts of Barney, and Opie and Aunt Bee. All of them, they all think Gentleman Dan is absolutely amazing. So Barney especially is enamored with him as he puts him in the jail cell. Gentleman Dan is well dressed, if you'll remember. He is dressed very nice and has a nice hat on, and definitely the Gentleman Crook type person. So Dan's captivating presence and charisma transformed the austere confines of the jail into the most regal court setting, where he was treated with the utmost respect and deference. However, Andy Taylor, the shrewd and intuitive sheriff of the town of Mayberry, remained skeptical of the charming newcomer, sensing that Dan's smooth exterior concealed a cunning mind. So Andy wasn't taken in like everybody else. I mean, Barney's taken in, Opie's taken in, and they all love hearing the stories from Gentleman Dan, and even Aunt Bee does that. So Dan's true to Andy. Dan was getting everybody in, but true to Andy's suspicions, it wasn't long before Dan's true intentions were known. Aunt Bee, Opie, everybody suckered in, but Andy not really buying it, and is upset because he sees that everybody around him is getting taken in by this, including Aunt Bee and Opie, for that matter, because Opie, even at home, Opie has been pulled into the Gentleman Dan thing, all the way to the point of saying, "On my word as a gentleman," just like Gentleman Dan, at home to Andy. So everything in Dan's jail cell is just meticulous. He's gotten fruit. He's got all kinds of stuff. So in a daring move, Gentleman Dan orchestrated an intriguing escape plan. Yeah. Manipulating his newfound friends to serve his own selfish desires. As I said, bringing fruit and all these kind of things. But Andy, with his quick wit and unwavering determination, saw through his deceptive facade. In a tense and thrilling confrontation, Andy managed to outsmart Dan and thwarted his escape, kind of, and ensured that the cunning criminal remained behind the bars. Dan carefully crafted the illusion of innocence, but it was shattered when Barney was in the jail cell with him and playing cards. Dan spotted Barney's gun and then purposely knocked a card off into the floor so Barney would have to reach over and pick it up, and Dan got his gun. And so he held the gun on Barney and made Barney stand to the side. And as he was doing all this stuff and unlocking the jail cell door, Aunt Bee and Opie came in and saw him escaping. And Opie was kind of excited about him escaping to start with. But then as he was trying to make his getaway, Andy walked in. Well, Andy saw what was going on, saw Dan with the gun, saw Aunt Bee and Opie. He saw Barney in the jail cell. The door was not locked at that point, and Dan had Barney's gun. So Andy, realizing it was Barney's gun, and not knowing, as Barney tried to allude to him, that Barney had actually put the bullet in his gun when he wasn't supposed to have. And Barney tried to tell Andy, but Andy was like, well, that's Barney's gun, isn't it? And he starts to laugh at Gentleman Dan, basically telling him it's not loaded. Of course, Dan doesn't believe that. He thinks the sheriff's trying to pull one over on him. And Andy continues to go right along with it, believing it. And Dan finally takes the gun, points it at the sky, well, at the roof or ceiling of the courthouse, pulls the trigger several times and nothing happens. And Andy smiles. He walks over, takes the gun away from Gentleman Dan, locks him in the jail cell, holds the gun up himself and said, have you ever seen a gun this empty? Boom. And it goes off. Barney. And Barney's like, I tried to tell you, Andy. I was trying to tell you. Man. So Barney sits down. Of course, so does Andy at this point, sits down when he realizes Barney's gun was actually loaded the entire time and everybody was actually in danger. So that's how it goes. And of course, then at the end of the episode, Barney and Andy are sitting around. They're discussing this similar situation about how things, and Barney was tricked and how Dan got his gun and how it could never happen again. But then he drops something in the floor, bends over and picks it up. And as you can guess, when he sets back up, he continues to talk about how nobody would ever be able to get his gun. And Andy had his gun. And that is how the story goes. And that's how it ended. It was a great story. You know, the incident served as a reminder to the people of Mayberry that even in with the most charming and seemingly trustworthy individual could harbor secrets. However, it also reinforced their faith in Andy's unwavering commitment to justice and his ability to protect the town from any harms. So there we go. That is our story. So now we got some odd facts known by a few all about this particular episode. If you're ready for that, let's change our background music to something else. Let's go to this. Let's change it. Odd facts known by a few. Here we go. All right, here's our first one. For some reason, this is our first one. This episode was aired on February the 27th, 1961, as I mentioned, when it first aired. This is the odd fact. It was the 21st birthday of Andy Griffith Show alum Howard Nessman. Howard's best known for his role as Johnny Fever, Dr. Johnny Fever on WKRP in Cincinnati. Yeah, so that's what he is. He was on the Andy Griffith Show in a color episode in the future of this episode, but it was his 21st birthday the day this came out. That is an odd fact known by few, but now you know. All right, so Barney in this episode, as I mentioned early as we were going through all this stuff, this is the second time that Barney shoots his gun, on accident. So it's the second time Barney has a misfire of his gun. The first misfire was in episode number 2, the manhunt. He is also told by Andy for the first time to keep one bullet in his pocket. He accidentally fires a shot into the courthouse floor in the beginning of this episode. And later in the episode, Andy fires the gun thinking it's empty, as I just mentioned, into the ceiling. So there you go. So when Gentleman Dan, this is a little tricky one for you here. You may or may never have seen this. I don't know. But Gentleman Dan, when he comes to town, Barney is in the back room of the courthouse. And we see him very clearly back there. And he's looking to see if his gun's in his pocket. This is when he loads it that Andy ends up before. So that is when he loads it. But what I really want you to notice, if you're watching this, you can see pictures of it. But if you don't, watch this when you see the episode next. Barney has no badge. So this is the incredible disappearing badge. As you notice, he has no badge on his uniform while he's loading his gun. And then right following that, you hear the cars pull up out front. Barney doesn't have his badge on his left pocket, or just above his left pocket. But as soon as they go to a wide shot of the door that goes to the back room, in which Barney has been standing this entire time, he does have his badge. His badge is back on his uniform. So that's something to be watching for. So definitely keep an eye out for that when you're actually watching the episodes, because you'll want to see that for yourself as he does that. All right, so that's just a little continuity error, and that basically happens a lot during this episode. Okay, so the badge appears and disappears throughout the entire episode. Okay, so in Gentleman Dan's cell, once he gets into the jail cell, he's in a cell where you can see a calendar behind him. I don't know if I have a great shot of that calendar. I'm looking here to see if I have a good one to be able to show you. But he has a calendar behind him in the cell. And I'll just tell you, as you watch the episode, you'll be able to look for this. The calendar back there is a 30-day month, because you can see that. The calendar began on a Sunday, which was the 1st, and concluded on a Monday as the 30th. And since no months in 1960 or 61 had 30 days and started on a Sunday and ended on a Monday, the calendar had to be from November 1959. That was most likely the date of the calendar. They're always very careful to Greek out the calendars so you can't see when it really was, but it was most likely, November 1959 is the calendar that we see behind Gentleman Dan as he talks and sits in his jail cell. I'm looking to see if I can find a real clear one, but you guys watch for that when you're watching episodes of the show and see if you can't spot it. You can definitely see it in many different places, especially when he has the gun pointed at Barney. After he takes Barney's gun, you can see it pretty easily there, that there's a thing there. It starts on a Sunday the 1st and ends on Monday the 30th. So you can see it pretty easy there. So that's a good place to watch. So little tidbits to be watching for. All right. You can also see in those scenes that when Barney is wanting to play cards with Gentleman Dan, that his badge comes and goes during that scene. So be watching for that as you watch, because it does happen often throughout the episode. I believe it's one of the places where it happens. So definitely be aware and watching. You'll see multiple times when Barney's badge is just gone. It's just not there. So just be watching for that. All right. During the scene when he's in the cell telling the story to Opie. So this is a scene where he's talking to Opie and telling a story. There's a really cool thing that I'd never noticed. The very last part, as he's told the story, the camera angles change from inside the cell, looking out at Opie, and back to inside or outside looking in at Gentleman Dan. And as you watch that particular scene, if you pay attention, Opie has his hands on his cheeks, like the little boy from Home Alone, when he put the aftershave on his face. Okay. So when the camera's looking out of the cell, there's a few things you can see here, but he's telling the story about Babyface Nelson to Opie. The shot of Opie setting up at the end, he has his hands on his face and he takes them off and sets up, is actually played in reverse order. In other words, it's a reversed film of a previous time when he had been sitting with his hands on his face, and they back it up to him setting up. It should have started with him like setting up and putting his hands down on his face and leaning forward, but it's a reverse shot. So watch that. The last part of that story, that's when that happens. And it's pretty wild once you realize it happens, but it does. All right, so just something to keep watching for as you watch the episode. Fun things. You may have seen the episode 100 times, but now you got things to watch for. Okay. Let's see. So when he's in the jail cell, telling a story to Opie and Barney, which is the same time here, you can see outside the jail cell, you can see when the shot's at a different angle, you can actually see the keys to the jail cell. You can see the key ring of the cell. You can actually see it. All right, so it's there. Now, this is during that camera angle. He's been telling that story to Opie and Barney. He's sitting over at Andy's desk listening with his hands on his face the same way. And then they go back inside the cell, shooting out into the courthouse. You'll be able to see the key ring for the jail cell key in the door. So it's in the door. So it's not very safe, not very good at keeping Gentleman Dan in the jail cell if the key is in the door, but it is in the door in those shots. So that's something to be looking for. All right. So when Barney is playing gin with Gentleman Dan at the end, when he steals his gun, when that is happening, if you pay attention, when Barney starts dealing the cards, this is what somebody told me. In gin, the proper amount would be 10 cards each. Barney only deals 8 cards. At least that's all we see. So maybe they cut away and you didn't see him deal 2 of the cards. I don't know, but you don't see him deal but 8 cards. So watch for that as well. In the close-up of the scene where Gentleman Dan steals Barney's gun and holds Andy at gunpoint, that's another location where you can definitely see Barney not wearing his badge. For some reason, he doesn't have his badge on there as well. Now, like I said, this happens several times throughout the episode, so be watching for it because Gentleman Dan's got the gun, and then if you look at Barney, when he's trying to tell Andy, he's trying to tell him that there's a bullet in the gun, Barney doesn't have his badge on. So there's you another place. So that's where his badge mysteriously disappears once again. Okay, so go watch the episode, Andy and the Gentleman Crook, and watch for all those things. I think it'll be fun for you to watch and see if you can spot when Barney doesn't have his badge. You watch and see if you can see Opie going backwards. All of that stuff is pretty cool. Pretty cool to see when you actually watch it. That is all the odd facts known by few that I have. I know you're glad. So now it's time for some trivia. If you're ready, get your pencil and a piece of paper out, because here we go. It's time for trivia. This all on dancing. Remember that, dancing. Thank you, Paul Mulik, once again for this. So question number 1, and it's worth 2 points. Question number 1, 2 points. What 2 men are seen dancing with Aunt Bee? Okay, what 2 men are seen dancing with Aunt Bee? All right, this is a little hard. This might be very hard. I believe both of these are from Color episodes, if that's a hint for you, if that helps. What 2 men are seen dancing with Aunt Bee? Okay, I'll give you the 2 episodes and see if that helps you, because I think it will. I don't see a lot of people... I don't see a lot of people popping into the answers on the chat room. Again, if you'd like to be a part of our chat room, we're here on Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time at live.2chairsnowaiting.com, and you can join in with us. So no, Opie is not one of the answers, by the way. It's men. What 2 men? Opie's not a man at this point. He's a young person. All right, so here comes the hints for you. The episodes are Girl Shy and Aunt Bee the Swinger. If those are helpful to you, I see some folks have gotten it in their chat room. The answer is what 2 men are seen dancing with Aunt Bee? Warren Ferguson in Girl Shy, when he was sleepwalking and everything. That's when he did that, I believe. And Congressman John Canfield in Aunt Bee the Swinger when she was dating the senator. Remember? That was, I don't know if she had her wig on or not. Don't remember. All right, so there you go. It was the senator, Congressman, not senator, Congressman John Canfield and Warren Ferguson. All right, so that's two. That's two questions, 2 points. Question number 2. According to Andy, who is the best dancer in town? According to Andy, who is the best dancer in town? Oh, this is tough too. All right, so I'll give you another hint. If you don't know, who's the best dancer in town? Oh, yep, folks in the chat room are getting this one. It's color, if that helps you. And the episode that he says it in is Andy's trip to Raleigh, if that helps you. I don't know if that helps at all. But the answer, the best dancer in town, is Howard Sprague. Now, the truth would be it was really Emmett, because the fellow who played Emmett was a professional dancer. He danced, but that was not the answer. The answer is Howard Sprague. All right, question number 3. So you've already gotten 3 points so far. Now you're on question number 3. For our 4th point, what pair is seen in or near Mayberry dancing a tango? Oh, this is a good one. I like this one because I know this one. That made it better. I hadn't known the answer to any of the rest of them, guys. What pair is seen in or near Mayberry dancing a tango? I like this one. All right, so what do you think? Who was it? What pair? What 2 people? All right, good job, Kentucky Mike in our chat room. I'm giving him a nod there that he got this one right. So I'll give you a hint if you don't know yet. What pair was seen in or near Mayberry dancing the tango? It's from the episode Convicts at Large, if that helps you. And the answer is, it was Big Maud and Barney. Yeah, Big Maud Tyler and Barney were dancing the tango. Let me lead. I hate a crowded ballroom. Okay. All right. Then our final question. All right. There's our final question. All right. What piece of music do Barney and Big Maud dance to? Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. I don't even know if I can give this answer. What piece of music do Barney and Big Maud dance to? What's the name of it? Oh, my gosh. I didn't know the answer to this. This is a musician asking this question because they actually know the name of the music. All right. Does anybody know? They can hum it. If you can hum it, I'll let you count it. From a non-musician and not knowing the names of the songs, I will let you hum it. And I will tell you, because some in the chat room have said this, it is not Poor Butterfly. It is not Poor Butterfly. That's not the name of it. All right, so the answer, by the way, obviously this is from Convicts at Large too. The piece of music that Barney and Big Maud are dancing to, and I'm not going to get this right, so somebody that speaks Spanish can correct me. It's El Choclo, Choclo, Choclo. I'm sure I didn't say that right. It's also known in English. The English title is Kiss of Fire. Kiss of Fire. That's the name of the music. So, Paul, great job. I had no idea what the name that would actually be. I don't think I have that music. I should have that music on cue here. That is definitely some music that I should have here in my clipboard. I need to have that one. I don't have that music. No, doggone, I do not. I'm looking to see what kind of music I have that's from that episode. I don't have any. All right. Well, the best I can do is this one for you.
You're going to be another Leonard Blush.
Oh, no, that's too much to ask.
Well, why not? He just walked in here off the street one day. 2 years later, he sang the Star-Spangled Banner at the opening of the County Insecticide Convention. Rest is history.
And he still has that radio program, doesn't he?
Third Tuesday every month, station YLRB Mount Pilot.
Big time. Does he still wear that black
time
mask when he sings on the radio?
No, he just wore that for a year when he had that skin condition.
Probably emotional. He went to the top so fast.
Very meteoric.
So it's not Big Maud, but it is, Eleanor. So same lady, at least. So I tried. I tried to give you at least a clip of something there. I should have done that. I could have played this one for you, I guess, since it is from that episode.
Oh, hell! If those hamburgers are ruined, I won't be responsible.
So there we go. All right. So man, thank you so much for Paul from all that. We didn't have this as our music trivia.
My dear, sweet, angelic mother, queen of the gypsies, La Faraona.
The gypsies we should have had.
Welcome to the gay, carefree camp of the gypsies. Welcome to the gay, carefree camp of the gypsies. I am Rios, head of this little band.
I don't have We Are Gypsies. I thought I had that for sure. I don't. Oh, man. I'm going to have to do that. Well, I had this, too.
Hey, Barney, you're a good dancer. Very light on your feet.
Now, that's Poor Butterfly. Madam Butterfly.
Turn that record off.
What's wrong?
Naomi and her husband. That was their song.
Oh, me. All right. Well, that is it for this evening, guys. I guess that's us. Folks, I want to thank you guys for being here. It is always so much fun to spend time here in Mayberry with everybody. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you did well in the trivia, or at least you had a good time doing it. Folks, I'd love to hear from you. You can give me a call at 888-684-8415. You can email me at floyd@imayberry.com or drop by over at twochairsnowaiting.com. And let me hear from you that way, too. It's always fun to hear from you. I want to thank everybody that is in our live chat rooms, both at live.twochairsnowaiting.com, over on Facebook or on YouTube. Thanks to all of you guys for showing up and being a part of the podcast. It's always fun to have all of them here and visiting during the show. Hopefully you can do it sometime as well. Until next time, everybody, have a great Mayberry week, and we'll see you here on Two Chairs.